Hello everybody. Today we're going to go through some tool identification, just the hand tools, not the electrics or the bigger stuff. So let's get through it. This is called a utility knife, not a razor blade. It's a utility knife. Bar clamp, we use them to glue boards together edge to edge. These are called chisels. The tip is extremely sharp, just like a knife. This tool has a 90-degree square. This is a 45. You can pull out this little piece to make an awl, a scratch awl. And this right here, very small and angled the wrong way, but that's a level. It has a combination of different things, so we call it a combination square. This is called a butt hinge, and the reason it's called a butt hinge is that when the hinge is closed, it has two boards here and here that are butted together. When it's open, they open up, so that's called a butt hinge. On the left, you have your files. On the right, you have your rasp. You can tell the difference simply because the rasp has much bigger teeth, very similar to a cheese grater. This one is a very large square. It's about 2 feet by 1.5 feet, give or take. It's called a framing square. If you're ever going to build a house, you must have some framing squares. It's a very large square. Needle nose pliers. The tip comes down to a fairly sharp point. These are called Phillips screwdrivers. You can always tell because the tip looks like a plus sign. This is a putty knife, not a paint scraper. Remember, this is a putty knife for putting on wood putty on our projects. These are standard pliers, or slip joint is another word, but usually we just call them standard pliers. These are called tri-squares. There's 4 of them here, different sizes. A tri-square has 90 degrees here, but it's fixed. It doesn't slide, it doesn't move, so they are very accurate. This is called an awl, sometimes referred to as a scratch awl, but it's an awl. And you can always tell because it looks a lot like an ice pick. It comes down to a sharp point at the end. This is a square drive screwdriver. If you look at the end, it'll look like a small square. Square drives usually hold better as you're driving them, and you get a little bit more power into them. They don't strip out. This next one is a hammer, but it's what kind of hammer is it? This is called a claw hammer. You can always tell the difference between a claw hammer or a framing hammer or some others. The claw here has a big bend in it. A framing hammer would be more straight with the claw, but this has a very large arc to its claw. These are called hand screw clamps or wood clamps. I just refer to them as wood clamps. But on the test, it's going to say hand screw clamp. We use them when we roll the edges of projects. It's good for clamping along the whole edge. It's got a wide jaw. These are glue scrapers, 2 different kinds. They both work. These are called Trammel Points. Now, I don't have any of these in my own shop, but basically, they're 2 little pieces that you put on a stick. Stick can be any length. So I can make trammel points that are feet wide to give you a large arc, or very small to give you a smaller arc here. Trammel points. This is a twist drill bit, like a corkscrew all the way up. It's the most standard one we use. These are called levels. They simply are there to show you to make things level and plumb. So this is called a miter gauge. It's used in the table saws and some shapers and other machines to give you a square. You can put a board against it and keep it square while you cut off the end or shape it or whatever you're doing to it. This tool is just a hand saw. Now we do have specific crosscut saws and ripping saws, but overall we just call them hand saws. This is called a flathead screwdriver, very common. Just for putting in screws that have a flat head. They're less common nowadays than usual. This is called a Forstner bit. Forstner bits are very large, anywhere from about 1/4 inch to multiple inches in diameter. You can always tell a Forstner because it's got multiple teeth with a blade through the center to cut out the middle. This one is a block plane. It's a small plane. It's the smallest one, about the size of your palm. And it just shaves off the edge of your board or flattens it out. This is a nail set. Now the nail set is used in conjunction with a hammer. The tip is dull. It's a blunted tip. So we put it on top. It's only about 3 inches long, and you can hit it with a hammer and drive the head of a nail beneath the surface of your wood. That is a nail set. This is called a back saw. You can always tell back saws, they have very little teeth, and there's always a thick bar along its back that keeps the blade straight. So as you're cutting, it doesn't bend like a bigger handsaw will. This is a countersink drill bit. Right here, you drill into your wood and drill up to this point. It flares it out so that the head can sink below the surface of your wood. So that is a countersink bit. This is a spade bit. It drills holes, just wider, and sometimes referred to as a paddle bit as well, but spade bit is what is the official name. Rubber mallet. You can hit things, you can hit and drive your projects together without leaving a huge dent, like a metal hammer would. C-clamp. These are C-clamps. You just tighten that and you can clamp whatever you need right there. Everyone knows this. It's a tape measure. We use them all the time. This is called a spring clamp. They're only about the size of your hand again, and they don't give you a ton of pressure, but they're great for small projects. It's called a spring clamp. This is a European hinge. Now, some of them come in one-piece hinges and others are in two-piece. Two pieces meaning I can remove the clip right here from the hinge so I can take the door off the cabinet. The European hinges are invisible when you shut the door. That's the whole idea. The European hinge. These are called pulls. Pulls for drawers or doors have two screws. That's how you can always tell them apart from these that are knobs. They have one screw that puts them in. These are called drawer glides. Now I've got a couple different kinds, but the two here, these are Accuride style and these are powder coated. These are a little less expensive, but they both are glides you put on the sides of your drawers, screw them in, and they will glide in and out of your project. So drawer glides. That is it. Best of luck on your test, everyone.